Cowboys fans, we're about to break down the injury report today for the Cowboys entering their Week 3 game against Philadelphia. But if you want videos every single day from myself and also from Jane Slater and Bobby Belt moving forward, hit that big red button and subscribe. Join the only Cowboys media channel with 100,000 subscribers. We will always be free, so join us right now. Week 3 Dallas Cowboys injury report is made possible by Magic Spoon. Avoid getting hurt yourself and, maybe cutting off some of the dad bod by eating Magic Spoon. I've already cut 10 pounds myself. High in protein, low in carbs, zero sugar. Get $5 off your first order at magicspoon.com/Cowboys. Let's look then at this Dallas Cowboys injury report. 5 players on the injured side. Then we'll also discuss the 2 COVID players, including a new one because, of course, Amari Cooper, ribs. We know about that one. I think he's playing. Nsekhe, Carlos Watkins, and Dorance Armstrong with an illness, a knee, and an ankle, respectively, are not going to be playing for the Cowboys in Week 3. Donovan Wilson, meanwhile, with a groin, we will generously list him as questionable. I would wonder if he's a bit more closer to doubtful, even if it is the normal week of a Thursday. Since the Cowboys play on Monday, everything's pushed back a week, but I don't feel great about Donovan Wilson being able to go. Although, unlike most years, that's not the end of the world. Now, let's spend some more time here on Amari Cooper, who is dealing with the aforementioned bruised ribs he suffered late in the Cowboys' Week 2 win against the LA Chargers. Cooper's been limited at practice so far, and normally, when a player is limited early in the week, that means he's going to be able to play in the actual game, especially when it is a premier player like Amari Cooper. Now, bruised ribs are not fun. Those are a lot more painful than I think most people realize. It's going to be a lot of pain management and comfort management for Amari Cooper. But so far, even if he wasn't elite in Week 2 in a very different style game plan because, well, the Chargers dared the Cowboys to run, and they did, Cooper's got 16 catches, 163 yards, and 2 scores. He's well on his way to, once again, a 1,000-yard receiver. Now, if Cooper were, for whatever reason, unable to go, it would leave the Cowboys a little bit thinner at receiver. There's, of course, CeeDee Lamb, Cedric Wilson. Noah Brown would get a lot more runs. Simi Fehoko would get a bigger chance to impress. Maybe Brandon Smith gets a chance. Now, he was one of the practice squad protected players this past week for the Cowboys alongside Justin Hamilton, Breeland Speaks, and Jeremy Sprinkle. We'll talk more about Hamilton and Speaks later on. There's also Damian Ratley, but I think more than anything, Brandon Smith, or maybe Robert Foster would be the intriguing guy to keep an eye out for. But I think in the end, we will see Amari Cooper healthy and out there in Week 3. So with that in mind, what is your concern level over Amari Cooper? I'm fairly low. I'm at like maybe a 2. I'm not concerned here, especially not long term. But get your votes in for me in the comment section. This is the pinned comment on today's video. If you're watching on YouTube and you get that ad break, scroll on down and let me know what you think. Let's talk the new injury update, or injury in quotes here. Oh, look, another COVID list player. Bradlee Anae is the latest Cowboy to be placed in that COVID-19 protocol. With the timing, it's Friday, the game's on Monday. There's really no shot at Anae being able to play this week. Now, I haven't seen, at least as I sit here filming this, any news if he's vaccinated or not. If he is vaccinated, then technically he would be able to have 2 negative tests 24 hours apart and be activated. The timing of that, from what we've seen with all these players going through the protocol, basically impossible. If he's not vaccinated, he's out at least 5 days, so it doesn't matter. He's not going to be able to play, period. So in all reality, I'm calling Bradlee Anae out this week. That leaves the Cowboys oh so thin at defensive end. Micah Parsons is going to play a lot of DE this week. Terrell Basham gets a chance to play better this upcoming week. You're also going to be without Bradlee Anae as the aforementioned player there. Chauncey Golston is now primed to have a bigger potential run, given that he has not played at all yet, but he's now going to be one of this team's top defensive ends with Armstrong Anae and, of course, DeMarcus Lawrence also out. On the brighter side, the Cowboys might get Keanu Neal back. He was placed on the COVID list earlier this week due to being a close contact, and that means he's not a vaccinated player. He can play on Monday if he tests negative over that 5-day span to return, but it will mean that Neal has missed all of the practices this week for the Cowboys. So my expectation, I think we're going to see at least a little bit more of Jalen Smith and Leighton Vander Esch in particular at linebacker. We saw plenty of Smith last week. That stays the same. Probably some more run for LVE this week. As mentioned, today's show is made possible by our friends over at Magic Spoon. This stuff is high in protein, folks. 13 or 14, if you like the peanut butter like I do, grams of protein in each bowl, right? It's also low in carbs, only 4 grams of net carb, which is a pretty damn great value there. And despite having 0 sugar, this stuff tastes absolutely incredible. So we'll get $5 off your first order of a boxer, maybe 4, whether it is the fruity, the frosted, the peanut butter, the blueberry, cinnamon, cocoa, whatever you want, whatever your preferred palate is, there is a flavor for you. So get $5 off your first order at magicspoon.com/Cowboys. Let's run through now the 3 players who have already been ruled out for this week's game. First up, Carlos Watkins, and we'll spend some more time as to what these injuries mean more in depth. But Watkins has a knee issue. He's out this week. He had been a starter at defensive tackle. Also out, Dorance Armstrong, an ankle injury. He might miss more than just 1 game, kind of like Carlos Watkins. We will see on that front. He was a starter for the Cowboys last week, even with Micah Parsons, but with Gregory coming back, the Cowboys lose Armstrong. And then there's also Nsekhe, the, I guess, backup swing tackle, since that's clearly Terrence Steele's job now. He had that heat-related illness thing that went down last week. He's still not back for the Cowboys, so he's also going to be out, which means, once again, Brandon Knight is going to be the swing tackle for the Dallas Cowboys, if it comes to that, which I pray it does not. So of these 3 players, who is the bigger loss? If in terms of you lose more offensive linemen, maybe Nsekhe gets in that conversation. For now, I'm not that concerned. For me, it's either Dorance Armstrong or Carlos Watkins. Get your votes in for me in the comments section. A for Armstrong, N for Nsekhe, or W for Carlos Watkins. Now, speaking of Watkins, this defensive tackle group is now even thinner than it already was. Osa Odigizua has shown flashes as a pass rusher. Hasn't gotten home yet, but he has generated pressures so far. Brent Urban, decent run stopper, nice rotation piece, not a star. Quinton Bahana, at times a good run stopper, doesn't bring you much in terms of the pass rush. So with only 2 guys, maybe you see some Chauncey Golston reps interior, but I would also almost guarantee this. I think Justin Hamilton, the practice squad defensive tackle, is basically a lock to be one of those practice squad call-ups this week. Hamilton did show some ability in the preseason. He flashed, made some nice plays as a pass rusher. That was Hamilton and Osa pretty much only in that area. So I would keep an eye out for Hamilton playing real snaps and maybe even making a decent impact this week against Philadelphia. Now for the offensive line, again, Nsekhe out. That leaves Brandon Knight, Matt Farniok, Connor McGovern as your backup offensive linemen. Hopefully none of those guys play. If they do, well, that means you've got bigger problems than the current injury report. Now back to defensive end here. Randy Gregory is back. I think he's going to get some reps and some opportunity. I think Micah Parsons will too, against likely Andre Dillard for the Eagles, as Jordan Mailata, the recently high-paid offensive tackle who's been really good for Philadelphia lately, is likely going to miss this game with his own injury issues. It does leave Dallas thin. Chauncey Golston, Terrell Basham, Azur Kamara are the backups at defensive end. I think what I'm saying is you're going to see more Micah Parsons at edge rusher this week. If he lines up where he lined up last week, it's a pretty big change going from Storm Norton, who sucks, to Lane Johnson, one of the premier right tackles in the NFL. I think the matchup to exploit if Mailata does miss time comes at left tackle. Eagles also down Brandon Brooks, so it's the Spider-Man meme of the Cowboys looking at their injured defensive line and the Eagles' injured offensive line. So no one, I think, is really at a distinct advantage because of, I should say, all the injuries. So with that in mind, get your predictions in for me. How many sacks for the Cowboys overall on their defensive line? Osa, Gregory, Parsons, and more. Get your votes in for me right now in the comments section. Finally, the one who I think we won't know for sure about until a couple days from now here, Donovan Wilson. All right, Wilson is still dealing with a groin injury. I'm not panicking on Wilson yet, even though I think it's a long shot. I'm guessing he plays on Monday, but the Cowboys actually have safety depth this year. Wilson, of course, was the big-time playmaker, maybe the only playmaker, in that safety room last year. So far, he didn't make any tackles against the Bucs because, well, I mean, there were bigger issues in the secondary than Wilson that game. But the Cowboys do have depth at safety, which we'll get to here momentarily. But, of course, this is all about the Cowboys-Eagles Week 3 matchup. We got hater producer Jeremy, and a loser Eagles fan behind the scenes. He just told me in my ear, don't fact-check it, Cowboys by 30. So with that in mind, predict the score for me. Cowboys against the Eagles. Get your votes in the comments section. I'm on record. I've got the Cowboys in this one, which I certainly hope because I don't want to lose to the Philadelphia Eagles. That just sounds ugly. Get your votes in for me right now in the comments section. Now, as mentioned, the depth at safety for Dallas is real. It is, I would argue, significant for the first time in a very long time. Jayron Kearse, Malik Cooper, those are the two that are going to play if Wilson is once again out. We'll see about Israel Mukuamu. It might be a numbers game there, but he's kind of in a redshirt year anyway. I was very impressed by Jayron Kearse. Frankly, and look, I watched a bunch of his games when he was with the Vikings, with the Lions before he got cut last year. I thought that was the best game Kearse played in his NFL career. He was highly impactful on a pretty decent snap count size and had an INT that was wrongfully taken away by the terrible officiating in that matchup. Malik Cooper also made some nice plays for him. He made a nice tackle for loss as well, blew a play in the backfield, was good in the box, unlike his normal play style. So, yes, I want Donovan Wilson back out there. I'm not panicking, though, because they've actually got, the Cowboys do, decent safety depth.